Hello and welcome to the 22nd episode of the Meet the Entrepreneur podcast. This is ELHAM CHOWDHURY and I am the co-host of this feature along with ARTEEN ZAHIRI and RUMEER KESHWANI. Today we are speaking with Tom Logan, co-founder and CEO of Cohley, and Cooper Lowe, previously a business development representative at Cohley and now a campaign coordinator there. Cohley's aim is to continue to help the world's best brands generate the digital content that they need through vetted third-party creators.
It's great to have you guys here. Why don't we just start off with you guys telling us a little bit about yourselves and about Cohley.
Coop, go ahead and introduce yourself first.
Sweet. Yeah, so I am on the sales team here at Cohley as a business development representative. So out just trying to get leads to brands that are interested in scaling up their content. And so we'll definitely dive into more of what we mean by that and how we plug into different e-commerce brands, retail brands, whatever. Yep. But that's my day-to-day looks like, and happy to be here.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Tom Logan, co-founder and CEO at Cohley. We started Cohley 6.5 years ago to basically help consumer brands generate content in a way that was forward thinking and in a way that we hoped would evolve with their digital marketing needs. So my co-founder and I met. His name's Eric with a K. Doesn't like when it's misspelled. We were working at a company called Pecora that was very early in the user generated content space. And basically, like, we saw the power that authentic content could bring for consumer-facing brands in terms of telling authentic stories that really added consumer confidence, particularly right at the point of purchase, right on the website. But there were a variety of different challenges with the way that that company was set up. It was very reactive. Content quality was a major issue. Legalities were an issue. Timing was an issue. So right around the time that company was acquired, we saw the influencer marketing world becoming more and more prevalent, and influencer marketing strategies becoming, table stakes for consumer brands. And because of our perspective on content, we saw these, quote unquote influencers, not for their influence, but for their ability to create really high quality on-demand branded content that we surmise brands would need more of and would become more and more popular in terms of how they, where they turn for content, how they generate content for paid, for emerging social channels, for, even for website content or for email content. So kind of flip that model on its head, created a really awesome marketplace full of content creators. And the goal is to not only help brands generate different types of content for TikTok, content for Instagram, professional photography, product reviews. It's to really unlock growth for them. We very much believe that content is a catalyst for growth, should be a catalyst for growth, and that the brands that are going to separate themselves over the next 5 years are the ones that are A, testing more content, and B, using data as their collective North Star around, how they actually make content decisions versus the old way, which is like, I think this is a cool picture. I think it's pretty. Let's just use this and pray that it works. So yeah, that's an overview on Cohley. Coop undersold his role. He does a hell of a lot more than just chase down leads all day. He's instrumental in a variety of different things that we do. He's in-house TikTok expert now, doing consultation requests, helping out with our managed services team as well. So he's an all-star over here.
Very kind of you, Tom.
Nice. That was a really great overview. Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you kind of like how you talked about your arc, right? Like you saw the opportunity with influencers, and not because of necessarily their reach, but because of what they were doing, right? And like the pattern that you saw, or like the trend forming there is kind of like what you see in everything. Like there are like so many creative ways that I see like creators kind of incorporating like advertisements or just like branding into their videos now. It's like almost like you could just like miss it if you weren't paying attention, and like it's only going to get like more interesting, right, as time goes on. Do you guys like see yourself more as like competing with like other content marketplaces, or do you guys kind of see yourself competing with like marketing agencies? Because I think it's really interesting you guys are focusing on this. Elham, we talked to Drew, or you talked to Drew last week, and like they're also right consulting for new innovative ways to reach like specific audiences like Gen Z for marketing. So I think like, you know, I see a similarity there as well. So like I'm curious to see which one you guys identify Cooley as competing primarily in.
It's a good question. We still compete occasionally with companies who are focused on influencer marketing. And they'll try to pretend like they can generate content, or that's something that they could also help with, but it's really not. Agencies, you know, we'll occasionally compete with agencies because, or agencies will actually use our platform in a white labeled capacity and then just use it as an upsell lever, add a very simple line item to a larger, you know, brand to agency agreement. But, you know, this might sound cheesy, but like, I think our biggest competition is just the old way of thinking about content and the old ways of thinking about testing. Like really, that's our biggest competition, whether that manifests itself in hey, like we either have to divert agency spend or work with you guys, or, you know, we could work with our ambassador team or manage this in spreadsheets. It's really just like, or we increase content budgets and just do more photo shoots throughout the year. It's really like legacy ways of handling these challenges, legacy ways of thinking that we're largely competing with. So it's a lot of education. It's a lot of thought leadership, and it's, you know, trying to be as up on every little tiny trend as possible, so that we can be like great partners. It's not enough to just crank out content and call it a day. We have to understand the why behind what they're looking to generate, and, you know, how it's going to actually impact their business.
So I'd love to like dig into that a little bit more. Like, what are the impacts that you guys are seeing or hearing from your partners about some of like the new approaches you guys are taking to, I guess, like branding overall and marketing, and just like utilizing these platforms that, you know, social media or otherwise, like you mentioned earlier in the marketplace?
Yeah, Coop, I'll tee you up here, and you know, we can talk a little bit about, or have you talk a little bit about why it's so important for brands to establish like viable acquisition strategies on TikTok right now, like why the timing is so important and why the opportunity is there in the first place.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, with you know, the ideas that we're introducing here around content, we really, and Tom kind of went into the history a little bit about Cohley and how where we saw that the power that UGC could have and how we could hone in on that. And now we have, you know, Cohley with the marketplace and such. And so that really was before the advent of TikTok. And now, as the trend kind of skews toward content really being key, if you look at TikTok, it's a lot about what the algorithm is going to give you and what people are wanting to be entertained by. So really the content is key. And TikTok, you know, they say it all the time, you want to make TikToks, not ads. And so it is definitely different content than any other social platform that we've seen before. You know, even like above an Instagram or a Facebook and things like that. And so really Cohley plugs in so well with that, with TikTok's kind of philosophy, because the creators that are in our marketplace are making that content that has that authentic and natural feel to it. And so, you know, we found that niche before the advent of TikTok, and we're grateful that TikTok came around, because we've been able to plug into brands in so many ways and helping them really figure out different ways of telling their brand story. I think a lot of people have trepidation heading into TikTok, or really heading into UGC in general, or trying to incorporate that type of content into their strategy, because they don't want to let go of the thumb off the creative thumb they have on their brand image and things. But what brands are realizing is that sometimes the the least on brand or maybe more TikTok on trend assets are performing so much better than what they were doing previously in-house. And so really we're kind of opening that door for them to test those types of assets and really, like Tom said, make it a more viable customer acquisition channel, make TikTok a more viable acquisition channel, because they're finding the type of content that works there and finding different type of content than they've ever previously done.
It also comes at an important time, right? Like a couple of years ago, you could be a consumer brand and put out a lazy piece of creative and on Facebook, just have very wide, high level targeting and still get 3 to 5x return on ad spend on that ad. But then of course, iOS came about. More and more brands through COVID actually benefited from the tailwinds that came with that from an e-commerce standpoint. And with that came more and more competition, which drove ad costs up, competition up, and then with the iOS privacy changes, then visibility down. So Facebook, from an acquisition standpoint, is a much more complicated beast than it was a few years ago. And now, I think we're back to like first principles when it comes to digital advertising, in the sense that like great brands, savvy marketers are not reliant on one single channel to acquire customers. And it's back to fundamentals. It's a lot of testing. It's relying on a feedback loop, and it's being okay with the fact that you don't necessarily know which asset is going to perform best in your ads. That's okay. As long as you have enough volume to actually test, get sufficient amounts of inputs, then you can work with that.
Makes sense. Can you speak to like your just the content creator vetting process? So I know you guys work with so many different types of companies, and those companies require different types of content creators to market their products. So how does that vetting process look like? And is it, do you guys focus on what the company requires versus like what kind of content creators are out there?
It's a good question. Early on, it was like the ultimate chicken or the egg type of thing, right? We had pre-launch, we had 200 creators that had given us a written yes, like I would love to be part of the platform. We sent this big announcement email on the first day the product was live, and we were like, great, set up your profile. Grand total of 2 of them created profiles. So we're like, all right, this is going to be tricky. But what finally put us over the edge was we got a couple beta brands who were buzzy, who creators really wanted to work with. They brought on their own creator base, kind of migrated it onto the platform, and we were able to start building up from there. But that was not an easy process. Now we have the good fortune of being able to be very selective in the types of creators that we say yes to and bring onto the platform. But really, it's a function of, is this individual going to add value to one or many of our brands? And what we'll do to verify that is just like quick qualitative eyeball tests. Is their content offensive? Is it overly branded? Is every other post something that's like, try this fit tee, try this, are they basically just a promotional page? Or do they have like really authentic communities that they haven't bought followers for, where they're actually like providing real value? People think lost in a lot of the influencer world is the fact that like great influencers, great content creators are adding some form of value to the individuals that are choosing to follow them. Like mom bloggers are valuable because they post tips, they share tips, best practices. Like fitness folks, great. Like they'll give you a great Tabata, circuit to do in less than 10 minutes. So there needs to be a value exchange there. So those are the types of things that we're looking for from a creator community. And then, we also, because we've been less focused on their influence, we've had a broader eye towards, up and coming creators that may not have large followings, but like are doing something really unique with their content, or individuals who may not quite have the ability to create great branded content just yet, but like we do a lot of product reviews for, and product sampling for product reviews for a variety of different clients. And like, can they take an air fryer and fry up some nuggets and review it with a simple text review? Yeah, they probably can. So like, let's give them a start that way.
No, I definitely appreciate that inclusive approach to, just like vetting content creators, and also just giving content creators an opportunity to expand their brand as well. So that's definitely great. I kind of wanted to pivot to more of like an omni-channel conversation. So as you all know, the metaverse is definitely in the rise, and I think a lot of companies are still trying to figure out like what the metaverse even means, what it's going to mean for their marketing strategies, and how their company is going to fit in that platform. So do you guys have anything in the pipeline for marketing on the metaverse, or just like how to go about that?
I think what we're going to see, my point of view on the metaverse, and we don't have anything in the direct pipeline that directly ties into the metaverse. But I think what you're going to see in the metaverse is a continuation of a lot of different themes that we see within digital marketing, which is hyper personalization. You're going to see very curated experiences that reflect the actual desires of the individuals that are within those experiences, that are putting on the headset and getting into this virtual realm. And brands will capitalize on that data for sure. TBD on how it'll all play out. I think there's still certainly a lot of uncertainty around the metaverse, but I believe in its value. I believe in its long-term utility. I actually thought that Meta's most recent ads were really well thought out, in the sense that they're taking it beyond just like fitness or going to a concert with your friends, but they're actually talking about the applicability of like medical research, or being able to actually slice someone's aorta open in a way that actually verifies them before performing a real life surgery. So if things like that translate to a better human experience, it's almost like flight simulations, but it's for like any job, right? Imagine if you could just train a clerk working at a ice cream shop or a general store. Like, you can use the metaverse to train them, and I bet you can shorten that training time and lessen rookie mistakes. So like, I don't know, that got me thinking about a variety of different like real world applications that I hadn't previously thought of, because that's not maybe the first thing that comes up to the layman when you're thinking about what the metaverse will entail. But it'll be interesting, and I believe that it's going to be important for brands to have strategies. What do you think, Coop? Do you have a perspective on the metaverse?
I know very little and haven't delved into it too much, but I do know that like at our core, with the user-generated content, it really is creating that experience for the consumer in a digital way. They're not, a lot of times videos can help people feel that they're there, feeling the product, using it via another person. And so I think that, we'll be able to evolve easily and lean into some of these things that the metaverse can provide, just because of the essence of who Cohley is and what kind of content we can provide brands in the first place. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think product reviews are kind of like the perfect transition into like metaverse marketing for your company. So definitely a good point there. Another interesting kind of conversation I wanted to bring up was AI in marketing. So, scrolling through LinkedIn, I've seen a lot of posts from companies where, they have this AI technology where you could just type in like what graphic you want to populate, and that AI will generate that exact image in like several different iterations. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Maybe, you know, how that might affect your industry and your, you know, company as a whole.
Well, I think things like AI, machine learning, what they can do to support our overall mission is to help take the guesswork out of marketing decisions, specifically content decisions. So if you can look at thousands, even millions of different data points and distill key trends, undeniable commonalities amongst performance of, you know, say certain TikTok videos that have, you know, obviously videos have so many different more, or have so many more points of analysis than a still image does. And a still image has like thousands and thousands of different variables and factors to be able to distill and look at. So I think that things like machine learning and ways of processing large swaths of data to distill actually very simple findings can go a really long way towards helping marketers pull the strings and better understand where to start with their testing, what images, which videos are most likely to resonate, but not just resonate like overall, it's resonate with, you know, ELHAM specifically, with us specifically. Like so you're going to be able to distill so much about that individual that you're targeting to the point where you're going to be able to use machine learning to say, okay, I'm going to bucket you into XYZ group based on your demonstrated interests. Let's now take that, overlay thousands, millions of data points, and then let's make this a much more educated guess. So like the image that we'll always try to conjure up for people is like, what we're really doing is evolving away from the Mad Men form of marketing, which is, you know, Don Draper, painfully handsome, smoke-filled room, thinking about this like genius marketing idea for how to sell hula hoops to teenagers or whatever it might be, right? And, you know, people will hear that idea, say, yes, great, let's do it. Let's put millions of dollars behind this ad campaign. And usually in the show, it worked out pretty well. But that's not the way that marketing is headed. It's about hyper personalization. It's about a lot of testing, and it's about accepting the fact that you don't, as a marketer, you don't know what is going to perform best. That statement right there feels very simple, but it's not. I mean, I was at a dinner with Cooper, actually, a dinner where we had 20 marketers in a room. We were at Ruth Chris. It was funny, actually. But the moderator, who is super thoughtful dude, basically pulled the room and said, all right, 20 high level, like direct to consumer marketers here. How many of you would be okay with doubling the size of your company using creative that you deem to be off brand? So doubling the size of their annual revenue, but they have to do it by using content that they deem to be off brand. Cooper, how many people raised their hand?
There's like half the room.
Yeah. So I think that's ridiculous. And I think the half that said that they would not be willing to double the size of their company, I think they're going to change their answers pretty quickly, and they're probably not going to want that documented in 5 years. Data has to be the North Star. There's no bonus points for being right.
Yeah, we won't name names here, so we won't name names here of who rose their hand. It's not documented. But yeah, the other half of the room was like, yeah, like let's see what's out there, see what's testing. Let's go against our brand, you know, image a little bit, and was more in that mindset. And I think that that's crucial in today's marketing environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to maintain that on like a TikTok, right? Which is such a weird channel, painfully authentic. Like it's hard to maintain that brand control, that grip of brand control. Like you got to join the party with the right outfit on.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like you need to evolve and just be dynamic. Like there are, I guess, like ways you can maintain like a static, like consistent brand, but in terms of messaging, in terms of like medium, in terms of like semantics, whatever you want to call it, like that stuff needs to change and be adaptable. Yeah, very silly how people are so scared of change that they don't want to do things that are considered off-brand or otherly, when even when it means like higher performance, right? I feel like a marketer's job is to drive, you know, views or revenue or whatever you said.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's cool. Yeah, and then the AI point, I just want to bring up like Dolly is the new one that came out, which is the AI image generating one. There's a great Twitter account, Weird Dolly Images, and it just has like the best. It's like it's just like really weird like combinations people will put in there.
I second that. Yeah, it's super weird.
Jesus using VR, and it's just like 9 images of like Jesus with an Oculus Rift on, and it's like, what the hell? Like, why is this? Yeah, and then we also saw GPT-3 right earlier this year, or I think that was in 2019 actually, right? When it came out with the AI text, where you can just like tell it to do something, and like it could like code like simple front ends for websites. You could say like, oh, like I want a website with like a join here button in the middle and like whatever, and it'll just spin it up like right there. So a lot of innovating stuff that could definitely be applied to like marketing and give better feedback, right? Because if you have more precise inputs, right, into like an AI model or something that's generating marketing content, you could almost index that against like user generated content to see like where it performs better and like what mediums, what context, and then we're really on the bleeding edge on the front end of like marketing innovation.
Yeah, exactly. And as a part of that too, is like, we've never said as a company, like, you need to use this asset, you need to use user generated content in general. It's like, we just say, you don't know what's going to work. Let's find cost efficient ways to create really high quality content that helps tell your story. And let's complement what you're doing in-house, and let's take you guys to the next level.
So
off competition and drive growth. Yeah. And that's it. Like, that's what
it's a great
sounds simple.
pitch.
Yeah.
It's a great value add. Yeah, so we're at the tail end of this here. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to say, leave the audience with like a last message or something to that effect, words of advice. It could be about marketing or founding or just getting by in these crazy times. But I'll leave it to you guys.
Go ahead, Coop.
Yeah, I'll chime in on this first since my introduction was a little lackluster. But if I could say anything, it's just kind of going back to what you said, Rumeer, about being dynamic and being willing to deal with change. I think we've all kind of experienced over the last 2 years the need to evolve and to adapt to things just in general in the world, just because of the pandemic and everything, and even in a sense across business and across marketing. And so I'm in conversations every day with, and I get a variety of different people looking at marketing a different way, and it's great. I think it creates a space. I think marketing is a beautiful world where everybody's contributing different ideas and looking at things differently, and really looking at the way things work best. And I think we need to continue that momentum. And I think I love being here at Cohley because not only do we get that on the internal with just the way that our teams work, and I've worn many hats, like Tom said, in my role, but what we're providing people, I think, is a catalyst for trying out what works, trying out what's new and next, and seeing if it works for their brand. And right now we're seeing a lot of success of the brands we're working with on TikTok and creating that natural and authentic content there. But who knows what's on the next horizon? Like we talked about today, the metaverse and AI, and we'll see how that affects marketing. But I just encourage, everybody in this space and to embrace those opportunities and test out. You never know what kind of performance there could be, what kind of possibilities you could uncover doing those things. And a little shameless plug here: if you want to learn a bit more about TikTok, I am holding TikTok consultative sessions. We've learned a lot in this space over a time of having, with Cohley and providing content for brands. And so if you're having that hesitation to really jump into that channel, you can find me on LinkedIn, Cooper Lowe, and we can do a TikTok consultative session, help you feel a little bit better about jumping in there. But yeah, that would sum up my comments there.
I got a couple founder tips for folks listening. Best advice I heard or I received when I first started the company was actually one of our values that we have right now, just run towards the pain. And the idea there is that deep down, you know what you're avoiding, you know what you need to do, and you got to just run towards it, or else that's when you feel real pain, real angst, real darkness. So use fear as more of a tailwind to direct your energy, as opposed to using it as a headwind and running away from it. The second thing I'll say, and I've struggled with this a lot over the last 6.5 years, you're not your company. You need to make sure that you maintain your own identity as a human being, as a son, as a brother, as a sister, as a father, whatever that is. Don't make your identity solely as the founder of your company, because what that ends up doing is you ride the highs a little too high, and then you ride the lows a little bit too low. This is very much a marathon, not necessarily a sprint. You want to move fast, you want to break things, I get it. Those are all very good, but you also can't run yourself into the ground, and you're going to be a total asshole if your company takes off and you just become an egotistical maniac. And no one's going to want to be your friend or be around you if your company's doing poorly and you're just miserable. You're just mean to yourself. You got to keep a very even keel. So you're not your company is my parting gift to someone out there. I hope it hits someone close to home.
Yeah, I definitely think, I think both of you gave like really good piece of advice. Keep your head above the water and, definitely dive into new things and, see where it can take you. But I think, we covered a lot. This has been a really, excellent conversation. Maybe if you guys could just shout out where people could find Cohley and, how they can kind of get in touch with you guys. I know, Cooper, you shouted out your contact, but, for Cohley overall.
Yeah, I was way ahead of you there, Rumeer. But yeah, definitely LinkedIn, Cooper Lowe, COOPERLOW.
Cool. And yeah, Cohley.com, COHLEY.com. I'm at tom@Cohley.com. Email me with anything and everything. I am very quick to respond.
Thank you for tuning in to Meet the Entrepreneur. Be sure to follow Startup Society to stay on top of the most exciting startups in the country striving to keep the American dream alive. Until next time, take care.